Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, let me introduce myself. My name is Devi Prima. I'm from Academic Extensive Reading G class. In here, I would like to present about my reading report about novel. In here, I have read a novel. The title is Romeo and Juliet. Before I summarize about the novel, I want to introduce a novel. This novel is written by William Shakespeare and half genres romantic tragedy and first published at 1594 until 1595. Here is a summary of novel. Romeo and Juliet is set in Verona, Italy, where there is an ongoing feud between the Montague and Capulet families. The play opens with servants from both houses engaged in a street brawl that eventually draws in the family patriarch and the city official, including Prince Aeschylus. The prince ends the conflict by issuing a decree that prohibits any further fighting at the risk of great punishment. Meanwhile, Romeo, a young man from the Montague house, laments his unrequited love for a woman named Rosaline, who has vowed to remain chaste for the rest of her life. Romeo and his friend Benvolio happen to stumble across a Capulet servant, Peter, who is trying to read a list of invites to a masked party at the Capulet house that evening. Romeo helps Peter read the list and decides to attend the party because Rosalind will be there. He plans to wear a mask so that nobody will recognize him as Montague. Romeo arrives at the Capulet's party in costume. He falls in love with young Juliet Capulet from the moment he sees her. However, Juliet's cousin Tybalt recognizes Romeo and wants to kill him on the spot. Lord Capulet intervenes, insisting that Tybalt not to start the party because it will injure the prince. Undeterred, Romeo quickly approaches Juliet and confesses his love for her. After exchanging loving words, they kiss. Afterward, Juliet's nurse tells Romeo that Juliet is a Capulet, which upsets the smitten youngster. Meanwhile, Juliet is similarly distraught when she finds out that Romeo is a Montague. Later that night, Romeo climbs the garden wall into Juliet's garden. Juliet emerges on her balcony and speaks her private thoughts out loud. She wishes Romeo could see his name and marry her. Upon hearing her confession, Romeo appears and tells Juliet that he loves her. She warns him to be true in his love, and he swears by his own self that he will be. Before they part, they agree that Juliet will send her nurse to meet Romeo at 9 o'clock the next day, at which point he will set a place for them to be married. The nurse carries out her duty and tells Juliet to meet Romeo at the chapel where Friar Lawrence lives and works. Juliet meets Romeo there and the friar marries them in secret. Benvolio and Mercutio, another one Romeo's friends, are waiting on the street later when Tybalt arrives. Tybalt demands to know where Romeo is so that he can challenge him to a duel, in order to punish him for sneaking into the party. Mercutio is eloquently vague, but Romeo happens to arrive in the middle of the Virgo's pairing. Tybalt challenges him, but Romeo passively resists fighting, at which point Mercutio jumps in and drops his sword and Tybalt. Romeo tries to block the two men, but Tybalt catches Mercutio and runs away, only to return after he hears that Mercutio has died. Angry over his friend's death, Romeo fights with Tybalt and kills him. Then he decides to flee. When Prince Aeschylus arrives at the murder scene, he banishes Romeo from Verona forever. The nurse tells Juliet the sad news about what had happened to Tybalt and Romeo. Juliet is heartbroken, but she realizes that Romeo would have been killed if he had not balked people. She sends her nurse to find Romeo and give him her ring. That night Romeo sneaks into Juliet's room, and they come to meet their marriage. The next morning he is forced to leave when Juliet's mother arrives. Romeo travels to Mantua, where he waits for someone to send news about Juliet or his banishment. During Romeo and Juliet's only night together, however, Lord Capulet decides that Juliet should marry a young man named Paris, who has been asking for her hand. Lord and Lady Capulet tell Juliet of their plans, but she refuses, infuriating her father. When both Lady Capulet and the nurse refuse to intercede for the girl, she insists that they have leave her seat. Juliet then visits Friar Lawrence, and together they contract a plan to reunite her with Romeo. The friar gives Juliet a potion that will make her stay in state for at least 2 days, during which time Romeo will come to meet her in the Capulet vault. The friar promises to send word of the plan to Romeo. Juliet drinks the friar potion that night. The next morning, the day of Juliet and Pauling's wedding, her nurse finds her dead in bed. The whole house decries her suicide, and Friar Lawrence insists they quickly place her into the family vault. Unfortunately, Friar Jones has been unable to deliver the letter to Romeo informing him of the plan. So when Romeo's servant brings him news in Mantua that Juliet has died, Romeo is heartbroken. He hurries back to Verona, but first buys potion from an apothecary and writes a suicide note detailing the tragic course of events. As soon as Friar Lawrence realizes that his letter never made it to Romeo's hand, he rushes to the Capulet tomb, hoping to arrive before Romeo does. Romeo arrives at the Capulet vault and finds it guarded by Paris, who is there to mourn the loss of his betrothed. Paris challenges Romeo to a duel, and Romeo kills him quickly. Romeo then carries Paris' body into the cliff and sets it down. Upon seeing Juliet's dead body lying in the ground, Romeo drinks the poison, gives her a last kiss, and dies. Friar Lawrence rushes to the vault just as Juliet walks up. He tries to convince her to flee, but upon seeing Romeo's dead body, she takes her own life as well. The rest of the town start to arrive at the tomb, including Lord Capulet and Lord Montague. Friar Lawrence explains the whole story, and Romeo's later confirms it. The two families agree to settle their fate and form an alliance despite the tragic circumstance. Okay, that's all for my presentation. I apologize if I made mistake. And thanks for your attention. And the last I say wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.